I am Jaspal Singh Sidhu. I want to introduce some academician for the benefit of the people, particularly Punjabis who are living abroad, particularly the new generation who are not aware about the Punjabi, could not understand Punjabi and living outside the outside Punjab, outside India. So we were planning long back that we should introduce the people why they are migrating to the other countries, why are they are leaving Punjab, and what is the concern of the people here. They are always asking that Punjab is getting vacated, people are leaving the Punjab. What will happen here, socially or politically or economically, and what are the reason? Migration always been a quite feature, quite practical feature of the Punjab. But now the migration has picked up after now 20 years back. It has picked up much bigger, larger pace, much speedily. So people wanted to know how the people from outside Punjab, particularly Christine is from outside from France. She's of France origin. How she understands the whole thing. She has gone to throughout Punjab, met so many peoples. She analyzed the data, and she met the lot of people, and she is studying that, analyzing the whole thing. So we want for the benefit of the Punjabis living outside. We from I Jaspal Singh Sidhu from Kendri Singh Sabha wanted to have an interaction with Christine. So now she will herself introduce herself and let you know what she felt about what she has gathered during her long stay in Punjab, during her analysis in Punjab, during her various visit to the Punjab. Now on to the Christine.
Thank you so much, Jaspal Singhji. So, a few words about myself. I am Dr. Christine Molina, teaching at OP Jindal Global University in Haryana. And as Jaspal Singhji has mentioned, I have worked for quite some years on Punjabi migration. So initially, I did my PhD in France on the Sikh diaspora in the UK. And since joining Jindal and living in India for 5 years now, I have decided to approach Punjabi migration from a different perspective. Previously, I was focusing on Punjabi migration dynamics approach from the point of view of the country of destination. And now I am trying to focus on migration dynamics and the impact of migration on the social fabric of Punjab. So the focus is more on the country of origin. And to do this research that I will discuss with you now, I have started actually from here where we are sitting today, the Kendri Singh Sabha. And I must acknowledge the very valuable help they have extended, the whole team have extended to me, allowing me to stay for 3 weeks in the guest house. So I'm really grateful to them. And I started from here, I started meeting people, and the focus of the current research that I have been doing for the past 2 months and a half is on female migration from Punjab to Canada. So why and how increasing number of women are migrating, and how it is a major change in the long history, in the long tradition of migration from Punjab that is traditionally male-dominated. So from Chandigarh, I have embarked on a long journey throughout Punjab, mostly investigating Malwa. So I've visited about 15 villages in Malwa, as well as Maja, trying to interview villagers who have sent their children abroad, trying to understand their motivations. So the recurring question was, why have you sent your children abroad? And maybe we can discuss some of the motivations, because I think they are quite interesting. Try to understand what is specific about Punjab and what is common throughout the global South. So among the motivations that we come across when it comes to migration from Punjab, particularly from rural Punjab, and my focus was on rural Punjab, migration from rural Punjab, we come across a combination of what we call in migration studies push and pull factors. So among the push factors, which refers to the adverse condition in the country of origin, we obviously come across agrarian crisis. So economic factors are quite important. The crisis of agriculture, but also political factors. So the lack of security, economic security, the sense that even if they get their children educated, they will not secure decent jobs. And this could be termed as economic motivations, but I would argue that it is also political, because most of the people, most of the villagers I interviewed pointed out the very bad governance that Punjab is suffering from, and unfortunately. For example, the sharp decrease in government expenditure on health, education, and transport. So, in the case of transport, I remember a very specific case.
Should we ask us? Should I ask a specific question? That this sort of motivation or this sort of migration started after 1980, when Punjab trouble began. In 1980s, after this. Blue Star operation, after the army attack on Golden Temple, and after the Tarn Yudh Morcha and so many other political developments, then the president rule and so many other things. After that, Punjab underwent a bad type of administration or politics. It's because of that. It's
so
got expedited.
I don't know. I don't know if we can really. That must be part. That must be in the picture. But political insecurity is not something I came across very much in the interviews. What I came across was economic insecurity and bad governance. Okay, so for example, one farmer was telling me that he had sent his kids abroad, he had spent a lot of money, and the main reason was lack of decent educational opportunities, lack of health access to health services, lack of transport, and he was arguing that if that was available for free in Punjab, people would not migrate. Another instance I would like to mention is one particular village in Gurdaspur district, which I visited, where from most of the men have migrated to the Gulf, so a very specific migration pattern. And to give you an example of a student from that village whom I met in Batala, actually she is studying in Guru Nanak Dev University, very bright girl, when just enrolled in a PhD program. Her family, her father has lived for 25 years in the Gulf, sent remittances, and the family has been able to afford to shift to Batala city from the village. And the main reason for them to migrate to the city was a complete lack of transport. So she would have had to take 3 different buses to commute from her village to the nearest college. So that lack of government basic services and structure, which is political because that's related to governance, is a major push factor. And as I was saying, people migrate for a combination of reasons, right? So push factors that have a lot to do with what is happening in Punjab. Another set of very strong factor which is a little bit more difficult to investigate because I think people are a bit reluctant to discuss that, is also the patriarchal structure of Punjab.
Patriarchal.
So this is something that has been prominent in the interviews with women. And to tell you an anecdote, I could speak to women only when their husband was busy with working in the farm. Okay. Mm-hmm. And when the husband was away, we managed to talk to the mothers. And one of the main reasons they highlighted for sending their daughter to Canada or elsewhere was that they don't want for their daughter the life that they themselves have had. They don't want their daughter to be asking from their husband for, 50 rupees to buy groceries. Mm. They don't want their daughters to be depending on someone. So that, escape from patriarchy is a very prominent reason for female migration, but it is also a prominent reason for men to migrate, for male migration. Although in the case of male, since they are dominant, it is probably less difficult to identify because I think people will discuss that in coded language. Mm-hmm. So one has to try and analyze that coded language. But I think it is a very strong feature among the motivations to migrate.
So people, mostly here, whosoever, I interviewed a number of people in Canada also. In Canada, whosoever the female women who migrated there, they don't want to come back to India, to Indian Punjab,
right.
Because they have enjoyed the freedom there. They are earning, equal earning. In most of the cases, they are better placed.
More educated than the
and they enjoy the better social status there. And mostly they in the patriarchal society, that the mother-in-law are creating a lot of problem for the most of the girls, So they are free from that sort of the hassle, This is also. So most of the people, most of the men, who have some land here, some business here, they wanted to come back, but their women and their children, they never wanted to come back, That's why they have to stay over there only in Canada or Australia or whatever the country you can talk about.
Correct. So that is something I came across. Many stories and narratives about people wanting to come back. And all those people are men. I am yet to meet a Punjabi woman settled in Canada who wants to come back. It's mostly, as you highlighted, men. So just to go back to what we were discussing, what are the reasons, right? So reasons are in Punjab, socio-economic, political, cultural reason. But they are also very much in Canada because it's the push and pull. So among the pull factors that lead people to migrate are a set of favorable conditions in the country of destination. And in the case of Canada, it's a combination of demand for cheap labor force, like everywhere else in the world, in the Western world. But it is also the increasing reliance of Canadian education system on the fees paid by international students. So that is something I came across when I discussed with students, because as part of my tour, I was staying in university and college campuses. And several students or faculty in Punjab talked about neo-colonialism, a form of neo-colonialism, how money is being sent, a lot of money is being sent from Punjab to Canada, either to sponsor children who are migrating as students, so land is being sold or mortgaged, and how Canada and other countries in the global north are benefiting in a major way from this, this migration of students from India. So a form of, how the host country is benefiting and how the host country education system is depending on the fees of international students, whether it is Indian students or Chinese students. So it's a form of neo-colonialism that people are also resenting in Punjab.
So the migration has been a long tradition in Punjab. It started, we can say, in the last half of the 19th century,
Right.
when people were going to Malaya, China, Malaysia, and so many other countries, they were going to this side. So this Western world is open just we can say after 60s, 1960s. But the difference is of the migration there. Earlier, people were earning outside and coming back and investing here in Punjab. They have a much strong attraction and some sort of attachment to the land. Land of their forefathers. Now that has gone. Now people don't bother to come out here. They have no that sort of attachment. So they actually other way around is there. They are selling their land, selling their property, and taking the money to that Western world, to the country they have migrated. So that's why this is pauperization of this area. Flight of the resources also there from the Punjab. So that's why I don't think that if this trend is going on, then this bad governance will continue here. First of them, social turmoil will continue here, and political corrections could not be possible in this situation. What I think.
Right.
How do you feel about that?
So I completely agree with you. Otherwise, what you are saying doesn't apply to the whole of Punjab. Because, for example, as I was discussing, I went to Gurdaspur district, particularly in villages near Batala, in between Batala and Kadian. And as I was discussing earlier, in those villages, migration, the type of migration that you are describing, which is actually concerned with settling down. The whole households living village, houses deserted, and people settling down in Canada and Australia or elsewhere. I don't think it is applicable everywhere. And for example, in Gurdaspur district, at least the villages I visited, the situation is completely different. When people are migrating, when men are migrating, are still migrating in the Gulf, which is the case of the villages in Gurdaspur I visited, they are still very much invested and engaged with the village of origin because they keep visiting regularly. And they know there is no opportunity to settle in Qatar, in Dubai, in Kuwait. So I think what we need to do now that we have a good grasp of the historical pattern of migration, of the current trends, what we need to do is to have a clearer understanding and picture of the sub-regional trends of migration. Because, for example, if we talk about Punjabi migration in general, it doesn't really make sense. We should talk about the migration dynamics in Malwa, those in Maja and Doaba. As we know, Doaba has taken the lead in migration flows. But even if we talk about migration dynamics and patterns in Malwa, there are vast differences between what we can observe in Patiala, Ludhiana, and, for example, Bathinda. So I think we need to complexify the picture. We need to introduce more nuance. And what we also should try and do is study the facts. The problem is that there are not many quantitative data, surveys conducted. So differentiate maybe between the facts, the data, the hard data, and perceptions, and also social anxiety about mass migration. So I'm not saying that mass migration is not having an impact on Punjab. I believe it has, but we have to check which locally what are the impacts. Which kind of migration are we talking about? Are we talking about impact at the micro level, at the level of the village, at the level of the household? Are we talking about impact, and they are very important impact, at the level of social social ties, social relationships. So I do believe that the mass migration, especially the migration with no return, so migration to Canada and the West, I do believe that it has a major impact in terms of disruption of social relations. And this realization of the cost of migration, I think, is relatively new in Punjab, because until 10 to 15 years ago, usually when there was a discussion on migration in Punjab happening, it was to celebrate NRIs, to celebrate their remittances as a tool of development. Okay, and now we have moved to a more critical discourse, which is actually a good thing. More critical discourse, not so much on the benefits of migration, but on the cost of migration.
Cost of migration.
The cost of migration. So either brain drain, either disruption of family ties, social ties.
Or it's a costing resources,
Financial cost.
Yes.
And also what I came across, and that is something we could discuss now, what I came across is the adverse impact of migration on education in Punjab.
Education.
So why adverse consequences, adverse impact of this mass migration on education? Because actually there is a significant ratio of youngsters who are planning to migrate. So they join courses in colleges throughout Punjab. They are physically present, but mentally they have intellectually they have already gone. So I met quite a few faculty teaching in those either private or government colleges.
Or something like
even in colleges, those who enroll in colleges are telling me, the faculty are telling me, the teachers are telling me that it is having a very negative impact on the class dynamics, because half of the class is physically present, but they are not interested in studying because their whole purpose in life is to migrate. And those who are not planning to migrate and who want to achieve something in Punjab, it is having a highly demotivating effect on them, because they see their friends, their close, social circle, either already gone or in the process of migrating.
So one thing, related to this, that you mentioned about the social discrepancies, social problem, emerging out of this migration. One thing that people, have you heard anybody saying this, that most of the people are coming from Bihar, UP, Uttar Pradesh and all that, and settling the places in the houses which have been vacated
Yes.
by the people who have migrated to the west. So at the same time, people are also thinking that a lot of that women here in Punjab, they are getting married to the people from Bihar and other people, so they think that their total population wise or everything, they are getting disturbed, demographically get disturbed, This is the mostly, they said that Punjabis are going out, or people from Bihar and UP are coming in. So it means after some time, this whole area will become a part of the Bihar and Uttar Pradesh and Hindi belt, This is also most of the people fearing. How is it exaggerated fear or some reality is there?
So that is a very important aspect you are highlighting, namely the connection between international migration and internal migration. So that is something that came again and again in the interviews with villagers. How youth from Punjab is migrating and how people in Punjab are replaced by, as you mentioned, internal migrants from UP, Bihar. I wouldn't say that they occupy the houses of vacant houses of NRIs, because usually they are just looking after the houses. They are chokidars or they are maids. So one shouldn't have an exaggerated sense of that of what the role they play in Punjab
How long
economy.
they will keep the chowkidars?
That is
the question.
but that is in the hand of Punjabis. That is in the hands of those who migrate. So this idea of Punjab demographics and Punjab and also Sikh ratio in Punjab population is a very old idea. I came across it in the 1930s. So if you 1970s. So if you look at what has been written on the Green Revolution and on the emergence of militancy, there is already this anxiety about the changing demographical ratio in Punjab. So it's not new at all. Maybe it has taken important proportion, but again, one would have to check data. And I think there is a lot of anxiety, social anxiety, but people are also acknowledging that how come what is good for Biharis and people from UP, what is good about Punjab is not good for Punjabis themselves. So that is something particularly that was highlighted by people who don't want to migrate. They argue that Punjabi youth is not prepared to do jobs that they considered as below their status, and maybe that's the issue.
Yes, that is also issue.
That
But
is
how
the
long?
issue.
How long they will continue to look after their ancestral property here back in Punjab? From sitting in Canada, or living in Canada or Australia or somewhere else.
Right.
It's some sort of a bigger question.
Yes.
How long
After
they will
that,
continue?
yeah.
Only the generation which migrated, they have attachment to the next generation. Don't have.
So I think what was also very striking and relatively new for me, because I always assumed that particularly among the land-owning caste groups, the attachment to the land was very strong because, as you know, land is a source of status, it's the source of resource, it's everything. But actually, this link to the land, this connection to the land is weakening. Because people are selling to send their kids, they are mortgaging, and land is just seen now as a tool to migrate. And I was very surprised that among the people I interviewed, very few are actually doing farming themselves. So most, and even in the age working group, farmers in their 30s, 40s who could farm physically, they are fit to farm, but for various reasons, they are not farming themselves and they are leasing out. So I think when the connection to farming is not there, what is left of land? So I do believe, as you highlighted, that the second and first generation connection with the land will weaken to the point of becoming.
So the connection with the land, ancestral land and ancestral property is weakening after generation after generation. That is true.
Yes.
Another thing, what the people are thinking, most people are migrating from Punjab who own some property, some land. They sell that piece of land and arrange money and go out. Send their children
Yes.
now for study purpose. Actually, this is not a study purpose. This is they want them that their children should get settled there only. So this is some sort of a migration. So it's a cover. Education is the cover for migration.
Of course.
Cover. So that's why only that segment of population, we can send the Jat population owning land, they are migrating speedily in a fast way.
Right.
Then the Dalits people, scheduled caste people, lower caste people who do not have the property to sell.
The resources.
They cannot mobilize the resources enough to send their wards to outside, for education purpose or anything else, This is how do you feel about that?
So this is pointing at a very important dimension of Punjabi villages and of migration dynamics, namely caste. So let me first answer your point and further discuss your point. So the scenario in many villages now is those who are in the village, those who are left behind, are either those who can't afford to migrate, who don't have the resources to migrate. So they can be, as you highlighted, Dalits. Although a lot of Dalits have migrated and are migrating usually because they are from army background. Okay, so Majbi Sikhs are migrating. Ravidasyas are migrating, particularly from Doaba, but that's again another scenario because SCs in Doaba, particularly Ravidasyas, have networks. They have developed networks and resources to migrate. But you will be left in villages with those who can't afford to migrate for lack of resources, so the landless, those very marginal jack farmers with too little land holdings to migrate. So the marriage migration trend that has been quite dynamic in the past few years, that saw girls clearing IELTS and migrating with the funding of their future husband's family. This pattern allowed many marginal farmers to send their daughters. But this is probably coming to an end because the Canadian government has announced a change in the legislation, stopping the issuance of spousal visa to students migrating after +2. So that is coming to an end, which means that who is going to be able to migrate? Those who can afford, either because they have enough land, or because they belong to a network, a caste network, kinship network,
or relations network.
Relations and networks are very important in enabling migration. So those who are let's call them middle class of the village, are migrating in big numbers, and we are left with the very rich, those who have very big landholdings. And I came across people with landholding well beyond the legal landholding ceiling. So those are not interested in migrating.
They are not migrating.
Because they know there is a lot of negative feedback about particularly student migration, crowded condition. Let me finish. I'm just finishing. So we will be left with a rural society comprising the two ends of the spectrum, the marginal landless communities that will be that has no access to those resources, those networks, and hence very few venues of mobility, of social mobility, and the super rich, we can call them even feudal, who have access to mobility. They can travel, they can visit Dubai easily. They can even get easily visas for US, Canada, and they do, but they are not interested in settling down because they live in, extremely good conditions. They have an army of servants at their disposal. They enjoy the status, the social respect that they think is due to them. So we will be left with a very skewed social structure with no middle strata. And I think this social structure induced by migration will be even more exploitative than what was the case before. So that is concerning indeed.
Okay. Another question, last question. So now the problem is there, some economic, some compulsions are there in Canada, unemployment is there, some other economic jobs and other problems are coming up here.
Right.
At the same time, they have restricted the entry, So even on the education front, they are withdrawing their earlier facilities. Similarly, in Australia and other, they are becoming a little bit strict in allowing the entry of the people from Punjab and India. So do you feel that this trend will dissuade the migration from Punjab, or what will be the impact in coming days?
So what I want to share is not specific to Punjab. It is actually to be observed in countries of origin where there is a long culture of migration, like Punjab. So culture of migration refers to a situation where migration is so entrenched in a society that it has become the norm. So people migrate because if you are a youth growing up in Punjab, it's part of your life cycle. And if you don't at least attempt, you are seen as a failure. So I believe that no matter how much borders, how much walls, how much restrictive immigration policies the global north is going to impose, I don't believe it is going to stop migration, because migration is an unstoppable trend. There is this also freedom of movement that people want to avail. It's part of modernity. It's part of globalization. And I believe that the more you try and stop people from migrating, either you do it by imposing restrictions of migration, or you do it from here by lecturing people on how they should stay in Punjab, try and develop Punjab, and so on and so forth. I don't believe this is working at all. And what is going to happen most probably, and one has to obviously check in a few months' time, with the restriction imposed by the Canadian government, there will be a decrease for sure of migration to Canada, might be a decrease of female migration, but it might also lead to an increase in irregular migration routes. So more and more men taking the irregular migration routes. But certainly, so it will be more costly, it will be more dangerous, it will be more disruptive for Punjab, but you cannot stop migration. I mean, that's unstoppable.
Yes, last question is there. No, this is the last question. Is the religion have any impact on the migration? Sikhs are migrating more, Hindus are less migrating. We don't have the Muslim people here. Two segments, the religious segments are there. Is there thinking, their mind making also affects, religion affects the people, social, society affects very much.
Sure.
Even the household effect is there of the religion. So does it also affect the migration, that Sikhs are more migrating than the other segments?
So it's not religion as such, it's the history of migration that is more prevalent among Sikhs, and we have to go back to the history. This is because of the Sikh enrollment in the army, the close connection between the Sikhs and the British government. So it has more to do with the British viewing the Sikhs as a martial race, Sikhs having migrated to, as you know, Southeast Asia, Malaysia, Hong Kong, as part of the British Indian Army. So I don't believe in Sikhs having an inherent drive to migrate. I don't believe in that. I have heard a lot about, Sikhs being very adventurous, but what I came across in my interviews is actually the opposite. I have come across people following patterns and trends. So they go to the Gulf because everyone in their village is going to the Gulf. So there is an element of adventurous spirit, but to minimize risk, people actually follow what has been done in their village. So there is more, what I've come across is more herd mentality than adventurous spirit. And I don't believe that migration, that religion as such is playing such a big role, although we have to acknowledge that the political situation, the state repression, militant violence, and state violence in the 80s has played a role. But Sikhs were migrating in huge numbers before, and it had nothing to do with militancy. Sikhs are migrating in huge numbers now, and I don't think it is related to something that is inherent to Sikhs as such, or inherent to their religion. I don't think religion is playing a major role. If it is playing a role, it might be also because of Sikh minority status in India. And we can conclude on the fact that Sikhs are indeed overrepresented in the Indian diaspora. So Sikhs are less than 2% of the total population of the country, but they represent more than 10% of the Indian diaspora. So they are indeed overrepresented.
How much they are in the diaspora?
So in the diaspora comprises, if I remember well, over 30 million people, and Sikhs represent more than 10% of that. So
10%.
I think it's 3 million of Sikhs all over the world, but it is mostly for historical reasons and not for religious reasons. I would argue.
Yes. So anything else you want to say before concluding?
We can conclude on that, I think, on this, long tradition of migration. How migration was, for most part of the 20th century, perceived in very positive terms in Punjab as a tool of development. It was celebrated, right? And the high status that you enjoy as an NRI. And how I was struck by the increasingly ambivalent discourse currently on migration in Punjab, and on the potential negative consequences it can have on Punjab social fabric. So we can conclude on that.
Thank you for the good interaction, and you gave a right and good insight about the migration from India, which from the Punjab, most of the Punjabis are very much worried about the trend of the migration. Here, those who are living, particularly the people of my generation, they are much worried about. So that's why we wanted some sort of interaction to understand the things, how the migration is going on. Will it stop or will it continue? Will it be in a faster pace? So so we will have a good interaction. Hope we will have also such interaction in the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity.